Well, welcome everybody to our online program on addiction and recovery from the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in Powell River, BC. And we've been talking about this idea of abstinence as the solution to any sort of drug problem. And again, not talking about an individual person suffering from addiction, but more of society's view of here's the solution. Just if it's bad, just stop it, don't do it anymore. And whether or not that's really the best approach. So we've talked about, for example, the whole debate over e-cigarettes, which really doesn't have much to do with science and just more about people's fears. And we've been talking about the prevention programs, how they don't really work, even though they're all preaching abstinence, and these kinds of ideas. And so but in all of these different ideas, the one thing that they all share is the problem is the drug. Right? It's the drug that's the bad thing. It's the drug that's causing people to become addicted. And this is a very interesting idea and actually a fairly old one. But we see it constantly. I remember watching a horror movie not too long ago, and it was very easy to figure out who was the next victim. The next victim is if they smoked a joint or got drunk or smoked a cigarette. You knew they were toast. So it's at that level. It's this drug that's the problem, right? And yet, a lot of modern science is disagreeing with that profoundly. One of my textbooks, one of my neuroscience textbooks from, I think that was more than a decade ago, I remember reading this. It made the comment that addiction was not in the drug. It was actually in the person. There is something about an individual person that makes that person vulnerable to addiction. Okay? And that idea, I think, is very important and maybe a new way of approaching it, this whole problem of drug use. So, for example, if we have a young person in high school, routinely now, if they're caught smoking a joint or drinking something, they'll be kicked out. But really, is that the best approach? I mean, obviously, what are they going to do once they have all this free time on their hands? I don't think many of us would believe somehow they're going to get into recovery and quit the drugs. No, they're probably just going to use the time to get high every day. Maybe it would be a much better approach if we could have a chat with this young person and figure out, what is it about their life that makes intoxication so appealing for them, right? In other words, if we could key on what is it about individuals that makes them vulnerable to the addiction? So we put all our energy in this individual person as opposed to the drug. Right? And if we put our energy into the individual person, then we don't have to worry about things such as abstinence as this general all-purpose solution, right? Because we're not really focused on demonizing the drug or thinking the drug is the problem. We're getting really to the core, to the root of things, which is there's just something about the way a person's living their life that is not very fulfilling. It doesn't make them, get up thrilled to greet the morning and things like that. So it's this new idea that may actually help solve a lot more of the problems that we face with drugs, as opposed to this just umbrella knee-jerk reaction. Drugs are bad, so don't do them. Because we do know, there's been a great deal of research showing that this whole approach that really hasn't worked out very well for us. And so maybe a new approach would be, we do more to help ourselves. Anyway, that's it for this online program, and we'll be back next time with a new topic.